Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Matthew Slater.
Salakia. All right, let me start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakak, Wadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops at Great Millstone. I'm your brother, Rabbi Knapp, coming out with a lesson, Lord's will. This is edifying to the Lord's elect. I found this online as Mark Rutte, Nato chief, warns members to be ready for war with Russia. So let's see what he has to say.
Just imagine if Putin got his way. Ukraine under the boot of Russian occupation. His forces pressing against a longer border with Nato. And a significantly increased risk of an armed attack against us. It would require a truly gargantuan shift in our deterrence and defense. NATO would have to substantially increase its military presence along the eastern flank. And allies would have to go much further and faster on defense spending and production. In such a scenario, we would long for the days when 3.5% of GDP on core defense was enough. We need to be ready. Because at the end of this first quarter of the 21st century, conflicts are no longer fought at arm's length. Conflict is at our door. Russia has brought war back to Europe. And we must be prepared for the scale of war our grandparents and great-grandparents endured. Imagine it. A conflict reaching every home, every workplace. Destruction, mass mobilization, millions displaced. Widespread suffering and extreme losses. It is a terrible thought. But if we deliver on our commitments, this is a tragedy we can prevent.
And that's where he went off. He was doing well till he said that. Okay, and what he's saying matches up with prophecy, and I'm gonna grab a couple scriptures on it. This book of Revelation 9, verse 12. One woe is past, and behold, there come two woes more hereafter. Okay, so this is talking about the First World War. Then there's gonna be a second one, and it came, and now we're in the time where Revelation 11, verse 14. Let me see if they have it over here. Okay, it says the second woe is past, so the Second World War is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. And this is what he's talking about. He's telling you to imagine it. The Lord's been telling us to imagine these things. Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, he's worried about being on the forefront with Russia when this has already been, was already prophesied. Ezekiel 38:7, be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. So this is telling Gog, which is Russia, to be a guard unto these different nations, Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, Gomer, Togarmah. Okay, these different allied nations in the area over there by Turkey, in the Middle East. He's going to be a guard unto them. He's going to be the reason why they'll be willing to go fight, because they got Russia backing them. And why is Russia important? Because he got the thermonuclear missiles. He got the game changer. He got just as much nukes as America Babylon. Ezekiel 38:8. After many days shalt thou be visited. In the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword, which is talking about Israel, and is gathered out of many people against the mountains of Israel, which have been always waste, but it is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them. Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm. Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land, thou and all thy bands, and many people with thee. Thus saith the Lord God Yahweh, it shall also come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought. And thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates. And that's talking about here in America. Okay, and in Israel. Okay, but the place that's unwalled villages means you don't have any defense against these missiles that are coming here. Even though you might have a physical wall or a fence at your border, that's not going to stop these missiles. Your Golden Dome, just like in Israel, that's not stopping the missiles from bypassing all of that. So that's what he's afraid of. He's telling his people to be prepared. Ultimately, because of Proverbs 21:1, that's why he's blowing the trumpet. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord as the rivers of water. He turneth it whithersoever he will. And he turned the king of Russia into going into war, making that old war come back, going from the Cold War to a hot war. Ezekiel 38:4, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. And this is what he's worried about, because now he's winning in Ukraine. I was just looking up at the war map. He just bombed Kiev today. There's more reports of him fucking that place up. So now they're thinking, damn, they're looking at their watch thinking, I ain't got that much time. I might have to do something else. NATO is going to eventually get involved. He's sending balloons into Lithuania, and he's threatening the airspace. So now they're being prepared. But he's probably just testing it out. Okay, if we send these balloons over there with cigarettes in them, it's a low-level attack, but we're getting mad information off of that. Now they're scattering. Now first they're talking about getting military, and now you get this report by Mark Rutte. Ezekiel 30:4, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. So why is he going into Lithuania with balloons? Because he's going to go to war with their ass too. And I'll bring thee forth in all thine army. So he's going to take them. He's going to expand this war. He's going to go past Ukraine. He's going to go all the way into Europe, all the way into America. He's going to bomb this place. Horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor. He got all types of armor, all types of weapons. Even a great company with bucklers and shields. And he got military. He got people backing him up. All of them handling swords. So he has allies handling swords. You see Iran, they got their own missiles. North Korea, own weapons. So they all getting ready for war. And this is what he's telling his people on this side. But we know, according to Revelation, the 17th chapter, NATO and the EU is going to switch up on the whore, and they're going to burn her with fire. This is the book of Joel 3:9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Come up where? Come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. Tells you in the book of Joel, the 2nd chapter, I will send far off from you the northern army. Joel chapter 2 verse 20, but I will remove far off from you the northern army, which is the U.S. military, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate, with his face toward the east sea, and his hinder part toward the utmost sea, and his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he have done great things. So he's going to be destroyed over there in the valley of Jehoshaphat, which is Saudi Arabia. Okay. Joel chapter 3 verse 10. Beat your plowshares and the swords and your pruning hooks and the spears. Let the weak say I am strong. So NATO's telling them, beat your plowshares into swords. We're going to have to spend more of our GDP. He said 3.5% of our GDP on fighting up against Russia. Eventually, you're going to have to spend 100%. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. So now you're allocating money in other areas. Instead of your economy, you're allocating that money into defense, into swords, weapons, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. So now you're seeing these other nations who didn't have capability before. What are they doing? They're getting ready to go to battle. And that's the time that we're in. You might not be ready to go to war, but through the Spirit we are. You can go to bed. It's your bedtime. We're going to be watching. Okay. I know there's a precept in Samuel, I think. Let me grab this. I know there's a precept somewhere. Let's go over here. See if I can find it. Pruning hooks. Samuel. Nope. Micah 4:3, and he shall judge among many people and rebuke strong nations afar off, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up a sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. So that's when we get in the kingdom. Micah 4:3 is matching up with Isaiah 2:4. So there's gonna be a time where the reverse is gonna happen. You're gonna be taking your swords and beating them into pruning hooks, back into farm utensils. You're not going to learn war anymore. Why? Because the nation of Israel is going to be ruling at that time. I can't think of the precept, but Saul, let me see if I can look for it. Saul, plowshares, and pruning hooks. I forgot where that precept was. Let me see if I can find it. I think it's in Samuel. First Samuel 13:20. Let's go over there. First Samuel 13 and verse. Let's see what the war with the Philistines. War with the Philistines. Let me read this. Joel 3. Am I done with that? No. Joel 13:1. Saul reigned 1 year, and when he had reigned 2 years over Israel, Saul chose him 3,000 men of Israel, whereof 2,000 were with Saul in Michmash and in Mount Bethel, and 1,000 were with Jonathan in Gibeah of Benjamin. And the rest of the people he sent every man to his tent. And Jonathan smote the garrison of the Philistines that was in Gibeah, and the Philistines heard of it. And Saul blew the trumpet throughout all the land, saying, Let the Hebrews hear. And all Israel heard say that Saul had smitten a garrison of the Philistines, and that Israel also had in abomination with the Philistines. And the people were called together after Saul to Gilgal. Let me look this up. Let's look this up. 1 Samuel 14 is it not 4? It's 1 Samuel 13:4. 1 Samuel 13:4 describes the aftermath of Jonathan's attack on the Philistine garrison. News spread that Saul had struck a blow against the Philistines, making Israel hated by them, which led to the Israelites being called to gather with Saul at Gilgal for a major confrontation, setting the stage for Saul's later disobedience in offering sacrifices instead of waiting for Samuel, as detailed in the following verses. 1 Samuel 13:5, and the Philistines gathered themselves together to fight with Israel, 30,000 chariots and 6,000 horsemen and people, as the sand which is on the seashore in multitude, and they came up and pitched in Michmash eastward from Beth Haven. So, if they're as the sand, that's a lot of people, man. Philistines, that was a mighty military. 1 Samuel 13:5 states the Philistines mustered a massive army with 30,000 chariots, 6,000 horsemen, and countless troops to fight against Israel. This large force encamped at Michmash, east of Beth Haven, while some versions mention 30,000 chariots. Others specify 3,000, with many scholars suggesting 3,000 is a more likely number, as 30,000 is not historically attested, and the ratio of chariots to horsemen in the 30,000 chariot version is unlikely. If it says 30,000, I believe it was 30,000. 1 Samuel 13:6, when the men of Israel, because who the hell is this new, this is why some of these scholars, we understand it was translated into English, so there could be room for error. But at the same time, I don't think they're wrong. Who the hell is he to say it was 3,000? And then his proof is he probably ain't even Israel. Don't get me wrong, Esau knows, but That's just somebody's commentary. 1 Samuel 13:6. When the men of Israel saw that they were in a strait, for the people were distressed, then the people did hide themselves in caves, and in the thickets, and in rocks, and in high places, and in pits. So they were scared to fight these Philistines. 1 Samuel 13:7. And some of the Hebrews went over Jordan to the land of Gad and Gilead. As for Saul, he was yet in Gilgal, and all the people followed him trembling. And he tarried 7 days according to the set time that Samuel had appointed. But Samuel came not to Gilgal, and the people were scattered from him. And Saul said, Bring hither a burnt offering to me, and peace offerings. And he offered the burnt offering. And it came to pass that as soon as he had made an end of offering the burnt offering, behold, Samuel came, and Saul went out to meet him, that he might salute him. And Samuel said, What hast thou done? And Saul said, Because I saw that the people were scattered from me, and that thou camest not within the days appointed, and that the Philistines gathered themselves together at Michmash. Therefore said I, The Philistines will come down now upon me to Gilgal, and I have not made supplication unto the Lord Yahweh. I forced myself therefore and offered a burnt offering. And Samuel said to Saul, Thou hast done foolishly. Thou hast not kept the commandment of the Lord thy God, which he commanded thee, for now would the Lord Yahweh have established thy kingdom upon Israel forever. So this nigga just don't listen. This nigga Saul just always going off, man. But now thy kingdom shall not continue. The Lord have sought him a man after his own heart, and the Lord have commanded him to be captain over his people, because thou hast not kept that which the Lord commanded thee. So that's what's happening with a lot of people. We see that still to this day. People are just rebellious, man. You know, just rebellious. And then he continues to be rebellious, because when you go to 1 Samuel, the 15th chapter, he just was a 2/3 at the end of the day. Okay? But that's the type of spirit the Lord put on Saul. And that's who majority of the people like Saul, man. They that's that spirit of Saul, man. You gotta be careful of this type of spirit, man. 1 Samuel 13:15. And Samuel arose and gat him up from Gilgal unto Gibeah of Benjamin, and Saul numbered the people that were present with him about 600 men. And Saul and Jonathan his son and the people that were present with them abode in Gibeah of Benjamin, but the Philistines encamped in Michmash. Let me see if I can find a map real quick. Gibeah, Michmash map. Gibeah, Michmash. So it's like 2 towns over, 2 cities over, north of Jerusalem. Gibeah, Geba, and Michmash in the land of Benjamin. So the Philistines were all up in our territory, man. What you doing over there? 1 Samuel 13, verse 16, verse 17. And the spoilers came out of the camp of the Philistines in 3 companies. 1 company turned unto the way that leadeth to Ophrah, unto the land of Shual. And another company turned the way to Bethron, and another company turned to the way of the border that looketh to the valley of Zeboim toward the wilderness. Now there was no smith found throughout all the land of Israel, for the Philistines said, Lest the Hebrews make them swords or spears. But all the Israelites went down to the Philistines to sharpen every man his share, and his coulter, and his axe, and his mattock. Yet they had a file for the mattocks, and for the coulters, and for the forks, and for the axes, and to sharpen the goads. So it came to pass in the day of battle that there was neither sword nor spear found in the hand of any of the people that were with Saul and Jonathan, but with Saul and with Jonathan his son were there found. And the garrison of the Philistines went out to the pastures of Michmash. So the point was, let's find out right here. Now there was no smith found throughout all the land of Israel, for the Philistines said, Lest the Hebrews make them swords and spears. So That's them trying to sharpen their swords for this battle against the Philistines. Just like what these heathen nations are doing today. But that's more of a, like how they did it then. Describes a strategic control tactic by the Philistines. They forbade any blacksmiths in Israel, fearing the Hebrews would forge their own weapons, swords and spears, forcing Israelites to rely on Philistine blacksmiths even for farm tools, leaving them disarmed during conflict and highlighting Israel's deep subjugation under Philistine rule. So that's smart on their end. But all the Israelites went down to the Philistines to sharpen every man his share and his coulter and his axe and his mattock, but they still were able to do it. Okay, 1 Samuel 13:20 describes the Philistines' control over the Israelites, forcing them to go to the Philistine blacksmiths to sharpen their essential farming tools like plowshares, axes, and sickles, highlighting Israel's vulnerability and lack of military preparedness due to Philistine oppression, leaving only Saul and Jonathan with weapons for battle. So going back to Joel, the 3rd chapter, where the weak are saying we're strong. That's like when Israel was saying they were getting ready for the battle too, so they can fight the Philistines, who've done everything in their power to keep them from weaponizing themselves, just like Esau's doing with these other nations. He's trying to stop them from building their nuclear arsenal, but he's unsuccessful because the Lord wants it to happen. 1 Samuel 13:21. It says, let's look here. So 1 Samuel 13:21. It says, describes the dire economic and military situation in Israel under King Saul, where Philistines controlled essential tool sharpening, plows, axes, goads, forcing Israelites to pay exorbitant fees like a pim or third shekel for basic maintenance, leaving them disarmed and dependent, highlighting national vulnerability and spiritual crisis when disobeying God. So there you go, man. And that's the same type of vulnerability that Esau puts on these other nations. Okay, he determines through economic policies if you can I forgot the word that they use to refine I forgot the word, but there's a certain thing they need to refine in order to build the nuke. And they want to have parts of your process of going in there and checking to see how much you're refining and all that. And that's the way they can keep an eye on, how far along you are in the process. And then as soon as you came up to that enriched whatever element you were trying to enrich, he came and bombed that shit. 1 Samuel 13. And I want to see what his coulter, I need images. Coulter agricultural. A coulter is a component of many plows that precedes the plowshare and makes the first cut into the soil as the plow advances. It cuts a slit about 7 inches deep ahead of the plowshare. Okay, I want to see like 7th century coulter used in plowing. So it's like those wars must have been crazy, man. These look like shit you would fight somebody in a prison war, man. You locked up upstate, you get your hand on a piece of metal and you sharpen the shit out that thing, man. So I know they're farming things, but I want to see. I know what an axe is. What's a mattock? A mattock is a versatile dual-ended hand tool used for digging, chopping roots, and breaking up hard soil. So this is turning your plowshares into pruning hooks, or your pruning hooks into plowshares. or your swords into pruning hooks. Yet they had a file for the mattocks and for the coulters and for the forks and for the axes and to sharpen the goads. So they had to go to the Philistines, like it said. So it came to pass in the day of battle that there was neither sword nor spear found in the hand of any of the people that were with Saul and Jonathan. But with Saul and with Jonathan, his son was there found. So the whole military didn't have weapons, but only Saul and Jonathan, and the garrison of the Philistines went out to the passes of Michmash. So that's why they were scared. They weren't ready for the battle. Physically ready for the battle. So that was, that was 1 Samuel the 13th chapter. Joel 3:11, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord, and the mighty ones are the angels. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, which is the valley of Yehoshaphat, which is the valley of decision, which is in Saudi Arabia, the Middle East, that's where the battle's going to happen. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. And that's why the Lord gave all the heathen round about us military capability so they can destroy themselves. Joel 3 verse 13, put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Let me look this up. Joel 3 verse 13 uses vivid agricultural imagery, a ripe harvest, and a full winepress to describe the imminent, severe judgment of God upon wicked nations who have oppressed his people, signifying that their sin has reached its peak and divine justice is due, portrayed as a bloody, overwhelming destruction, often linked to the final day of the Lord and echoing in Revelation. Joel 3 verse 14, multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. And that's what Mark Root, as they start to get close to the, as they start to go west, going into NATO-backed countries, that's the war escalating right now. You got Ukraine, he's trying to join the EU, he's trying to join NATO, but they're not allowing him because that gives them leverage. But it's going to get past Ukraine, and then what you're going to do? You're going to rely on NATO and the EU. They're going to have to fight. So eventually that's what it's going to get to. But before all that happens, when you read Revelation, the 16th chapter, it tells you somewhat in sequence are the different wraths that's going to come to pass, and what comes before all this war as you go down into Armageddon and the seventh bowl, which is the thermonuclear missiles. So this is World War III. This is the Valley of Jehoshaphat. But then you got the thermonuclear missiles, which is the seventh, the completion of the destruction. But when you read up and start at Revelation 16, and 1, and I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the 7 angels, go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of God upon the earth, the vials of the different judgments. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image. So that mark of the beast is a very important aspect before the wars. So even though the war is escalating, the different laws and mandates are going to increase to the point where you're going to be chipped up. So the chipping is actually already happening. You got people who already have the device in them, but it's going to be mandated. And you're going to get this grievous sore because you're gonna need to use it to buy or sell. So you're constantly scanning your hand. You're constantly interacting with high frequencies in your hand. That's not supposed to bypass your skin and all of that. So that's where you're going to get the grievous sore. And the second angel poured out his vial upon the sea, and it became as blood, as the blood of a dead man, and every living soul died in the sea. And the third angel poured out his vial upon the rivers and fountains of waters, and they became blood. And I heard the angel of the waters say, Thou art righteous, O Lord, which art and was and shall be, because thou hast judged thus. For they have shed the blood of saints and prophets, and thou hast given them blood to drink, for they are worthy. So the blood of the saints and the prophets, 2/3 of the nation of Israel, you killed the blood, you shed the blood of the saints and prophets, you're going to be destroyed. And Esau and the rest of these heathen, you're going to have blood to drink, which is contaminated water. Okay, so just like in ancient Egypt, when the Lord used Aaron to smite the waters, he gonna smite your waters again, which is a plague. Revelation 16:7, and I heard another out of the altar say, Even so, Lord God Almighty, true and righteous are thy judgments. And the fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch men with fire. And men were scorched with great heat, and blasphemed the name of God, which had power over these plagues, and they repented not to give him glory. And the fifth angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast, and his kingdom was full of darkness, and they gnawed their tongues for pain, and blasphemed the God of heaven because of their pains and their sores, and repented not of their deeds. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. So that's the judgments coming. All going into Armageddon, the seventh bowl. So these things are going to escalate to the point where you're going to have this great earthquake going to the thermonuclear destruction, the grand finale. Okay, Isaiah 24 and verse number 20. The earth shall rail to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. So Babylon's going to fall, man. It's going to be destroyed by thermonuclear missiles. That's what's going to, so many missiles that's going to, the whole world's going to feel it at the end of the day. So what he's talking about, your grandmother should feel, the wars, things that are, our grandmothers went through different wars. I think I looked up, World War I was like from, I think it ended in 1914 to 1918. And then it went from like 1945. World War II ended in 1945. And this war is pretty much, it really ain't never ended. As a matter of fact, let me, when did the Cold War end? December 26, 1991. So it went cold in 91. And it's just been slowly heating back up all the way to the point where it's at today. So from 1945 to about, let me see, and start, and let's go start, and let's see what that says. So the Cold War generally started around 1947. So if the Cold War started in 1947 and the Second World War ended in 1945, when Revelation 11 tells you, 11:14, the second woe was past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly, that's pretty quick. And it's been slowly escalating up to the point where you're hearing Mark Rutte, Nato, today, talking about it, saying we need to get prepared. Nato needs to get prepared. So we all need to get prepared. What's this? It says, actually, I'm done with that. Breaking, Japan struck with another quake of 6.7 magnitude, tsunami warning issued. They just had an earthquake, man. Let's see what
All right, we have breaking news coming in from Japan. A tsunami warning has been issued after a 6.7 magnitude quake hit northern Japan this morning. This comes days after a 7.5 level tremor in the same region had injured at least 50 people. According to the USGS, the latest quake hit 114 kilometers off the coast of Hachinohe City. The Japan government has issued an emergency earthquake warning for Aomori, Hokkaido, Iwate prefectures. The Japan Meteorological Agency, upgrading its initial estimate of 6.5, also warned that tsunami waves of up to 1 meter could hit the northern Pacific. However, it also said that no tsunami damage is expected after 7.5 magnitude had hit Japan on Monday. The Japan Meteorological Agency had published a rare special advisory early on Tuesday, warning that another quake of similar or greater size was possible for another week.
Wow.
The agency had put the chance at around 1 in 100 for the next 7 days. In August 2024, the JMA has issued its first special advisory for the southern half of Japan's Pacific coast, warning of a possible mega quake along the Nankai, but it was lifted later.
So there you go, man. More earthquakes. The Lord prophesies that in Matthew the 24th chapter. Matthew 24 in verse, where does he say it? 7, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. So that's going to increase too, as we can see. Now this is in Boston. It's talking about a norovirus. So I want to see what this is talking about.
A norovirus outbreak will keep an elementary school in Medford closed tomorrow for a second straight day. More than 100 kids are sick with the highly contagious stomach bug. That's enough to put fear into the hearts of parents everywhere. And Brandon Truitt shows us how to keep your family healthy as we head into the holidays.
Doctors say what's happening here in Medford is a good example of how easy it is for norovirus to spread, with so many people wanting to stay healthy ahead of the busy holiday season. Tonight, increasing cases of norovirus have one city closing a school in an effort to stop the spread.
Yeah, everyone's talking about it.
Medford public school leaders announcing Roberts Elementary will be closed for a second day on Friday after more than 130 students and staff contracted norovirus. The bug causes stomach and gastro issues. With the building empty on Thursday, professional cleaners were on site wiping down door handles, desks, and kitchen equipment. School leaders say the building is deemed safe, but they notified parents Thursday that with so many absences, there would not be a reasonable number of students and staff to have class Friday.
How did it spread like that? Like, how did that happen?
The kids are safe right now that I'm with, so far, so good.
With so many people around here sick, it's got folks thinking about staying healthy for the holidays. Elena Munro takes care of children 6 and younger and does her best to avoid it.
We just go with it. And if they're sick, I get sick. And if I get sick first, I don't go to work.
The CDC says washing your hands and clothes thoroughly can be the best protection against the virus. If you already have it, the agency recommends avoiding handling food and wait 2 days to resume any activities.
The good news is that it's fast to arrive, but it's also fast to, leave.
Dr. Vandana Manavan heads up pediatric infectious disease at Mass General and says norovirus rarely results in hospitalizations with symptoms leaving in 1 to 3 days. But she warns of getting with family members if feeling under the weather.
This isn't the time to be like, oh, we're mostly better, let's push it. See if you can change your flight, wait until everyone's better.
And doctors say if you do get it, there's not much you can do in terms of treatment. They recommend drinking a lot of water and popping a Tylenol if you're feeling sore. In Medford, Brandon Truitt, WBZ News.
All right, see you.
Oh, that's normal shit. That normally happens around this time. But you never know, man. It's good to know that these things are around. Depending on what type of occupation you have and all of that. But if you don't know, you don't know.
Good evening.
I'm John Dickerson.
I'm Maurice Dubois.
We begin with the flood emergency in the Pacific Northwest. In the Seattle area, rain totals are approaching 1.5 feet. It's been coming down since Sunday.
And rivers are still rising tonight, some approaching historic levels. The governor of Washington state says as many as 100,000 people could be forced to scramble for safety, and there is still the potential for catastrophic loss of life.
I'm seeing these type of events. No one's ever thinking about it till it comes out of nowhere. Look at this shit. This is 3D printed meat.
Soon, the entire world will start eating meat printed by a printer, and we won't even be able to tell if it's real meat or not. This isn't a plot from Black Mirror, it's our reality unfolding. Here's why printed meat resembles real meat so closely. The 3D printers use special bio-inks to create it. These bio-inks are actually made from stem cells extracted from different animals depending on the desired type of meat: beef, pork, poultry, or even fish. In a laboratory, these cells then multiply, interact, and differentiate into the fat and muscle cells that make up bio-ink. These bio-inks are then intricately layered by specialized 3D printers to construct meat products that closely mimic the texture, taste, and nutritional composition of traditional meats. This is identical to real beef, and when it is ready and served, even the smell is the same. Scientists claim that by using this technology, the environmental impact associated with conventional livestock farming will be greatly reduced. So would you eat printed meat? Soon.
Would you? You already eating that shit, man. Already eating that shit, man. I don't eat that shit, but, you know, you try to eat the best out of the worst, and the best out of the worst is vegetables. But he got all type of pesticides on it. He got, you probably got the jab shot all in that shit. Crazy, man. Ezekiel 4, verse 12. And thou shalt eat it as barley cakes, and thou shalt bake it with dung that cometh out of a man in their sight. And the Lord said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whither I will drive them. Let's look this up. Ezekiel 4, verse 13 symbolizes extreme hardship and impurity the Israelites will face in exile, and we're in exile now. It means that because of their sins, they will be forced to eat defiled bread, food that violates their religious laws. In a foreign land among the Gentiles, which are the heathen, this is symbolic act underscores their judgment, loss of identity, and the humiliation of being unable to follow their own laws in captivity. And that alone, not being able to follow your own laws, should make you mourn, because you're subject to, look how wicked the laws of the heathen are. You know, but yet you ain't even crying out about this stuff. Symbolism of defiled bread. The defiled bread represents the unclean, impure conditions the Israelites will endure while in exile. Eating this food prepared in a way that was forbidden by Mosaic law illustrates how their sin has led them to a state where they cannot maintain religious purity. So a lot of y'all who ain't crying out to the Lord is because you like it like this. Matter of fact, let's keep going, because he explains in Ezekiel 4, verse 14, then said I, Lord, Yahweh, behold, my soul have not been polluted, for from my youth up even till now have I not eaten of that which dieth of itself. So you don't even know if your food is dying of itself or is torn in pieces. 3D printed meat, I don't think that's considered torn in pieces, but you don't know what the hell it is. It probably violates all of these laws. Okay, you don't know where he's extracting to get the, you know, however, I don't know the whole lab process of it all, but they kind of went into it, but they extract some form of whatever meat they're trying to clone and 3D print from an actual animal. Okay, and you don't know where that animal came from. Neither came their abominable flesh into my mouth. And that's abominable flesh. That's exactly what that is. Okay, so that's what's going on here. We're eating abominable flesh, you know, and just, it's disgusting, man. It's absolutely uncalled for. And it's because we can't follow our own laws. But a lot of y'all think these laws are okie dokie. You cool with that. Let me grab this in the book of 2nd Edges 13. I'll start at 41, but actually I'll start at 40. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Shalmaneser, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. So this is the lost 10 tribes of Israel. Okay, which are you so-called, well, it's really 9 tribes because, well, it's 10 tribes, but Levi stayed with the northern kingdom. Okay, or the southern kingdom, Salakia. Let me see, let me grab this precept, 2nd Chronicles, I think it's 10 and 10. And the young men that were brought up with him spake unto him, saying, Thus shalt thou answer the people that spake unto thee, saying, Thy father made our yoke heavy, but make thou it something. No, that's not it. Maybe it's 1st Chronicles 10 and 10. No. I forgot what the precept was. When the Levites in Chronicles went with Judah. Second Chronicles 11. Second Chronicles 11, verse 13. And the priests and the Levites that were in all Israel resorted to him out of all their coasts. For the Levites left their suburbs and their possession and came to Judah and Jerusalem, for Jeroboam and his sons had cast them off from executing the priest's office unto the Lord. And he ordained him priests for the high places and for the devils and for the calves which he had made. And after them, out of all the tribes of Israel, such as set their hearts to seek the Lord God of Israel, came to Jerusalem to sacrifice unto the Lord God of their fathers. So they strengthened the kingdom of Judah and made Rehoboam the son of Solomon strong 3 years. For 3 years they walked in the way of David and Solomon. So the Levites went to Judah because Jeroboam appoints false priests. So that's why they went over, and that's what makes them 9. Okay, unless there was some, it says 10, so I'm thinking there was some Levites that stayed with them. Or who knows? I can't, let me see, was it? But it's mostly talking about the northern kingdom. That's who came over here because that's who was in the land at that time. But they took this counsel amongst themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country whither never mankind dwelt, that they might there keep their statutes which they never kept in their own land. So that mindset of leaving somewhere to keep your own statutes and commandments was something our forefathers had that a lot of us don't have anymore. You don't see the significance of following your own laws. You want to be here with Esau. Okay, and guess what? You're going to eat your bread defiled. You're going to be treated unjustly, and that's what you get at the end of the day. Jeremiah 17:4. And thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not, for ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever. So you don't even acknowledge the fact of why you're here. You just think it is what it is. Nah, man. It ain't what it is, man. Okay. Matter of fact, that's pretty much it. Yeah, I'm probably gonna. There's one more precept I want to get. I thought it was Jeremiah 50, and it might be Isaiah. The captive hasteneth. Exile hasteneth, right? It's Isaiah. I'm gonna end it on this. Isaiah 51 verse 14. The captive exile hasteneth that he may be loosed, and that he should not die in the pit, nor that his bread should fail. So have an understanding that we're here in captivity. We should, if like just like somebody that's locked up, he wants to go home. But that spirit of not knowing who you are is what's keeping you in this perpetual state of not seeking the Lord, not hastening the day, and just keeping you dead, you know. But some people want to stay like that, and if that's the spirit the Lord got on you, then hey, let him continue to keep you in that spirit. But I hope the Lord don't give me that spirit. And I'm gonna end it with that. Lord's will. This was edifying. Shalom.